So last time I talked about one of my experiences on the Appalachian Trail. Figured I'd do that again just because I know the season's coming up soon. I know people are researching things, and I feel like my experiences can help some people out there. But it should be a fun story, so let's get started with that. So back in 2015, I did a thru hike of the Appalachian Trail, or attempted a thru hike, but was forced off due to financial reasons. One of the things that happened to me out there was a lot of rain. I got caught in a ton of rain out there. I started early. I started the 1st of March. Started March the 7th or something like that. And probably the first 4 weeks while I was out there, I was mostly in the rain. March and April are usually pretty rainy months, and then some of May is too. Once I got into May though, the sun started coming out a lot more and it was more enjoyable. But starting early, you're gonna be experiencing some cold and some rain. That's almost a guarantee. It was about April, mid-April, I think. I had just left Troutdale. I left Troutdale. I stayed in a hotel that night, and it was pouring down rain the next morning, but I didn't want to take a 0 day because I wanted to keep hiking. So I just started hiking in that rain. It was pouring rain all day, just a steady downpour. I was like, okay, I can make it to the shelter, which I don't always recommend staying in shelters, but when it's pouring down rain, sometimes you really don't have another choice. So I was like, I'm gonna make it to the first shelter that I come to. So I started hiking. It's pouring down rain. I was soaking wet, head to toe. I was hiking. I knew I was gonna get blisters from that. It was not a good experience. Got to the shelter, full to capacity. There was no way to get anyone else in there. I'm like, okay, I'll hike to the next shelter. So I think the next shelter was 4 miles, started hiking. Got to it, completely full of people. Packed to the gills with people. Of course, because it's pouring down rain. You're not gonna be staying in a tent if you can help it. But if you have to, like I had to, then you will. So I was like, okay, I gotta stop because it's just crazy. Just stopped, it was pouring down rain still. Stopped, it was almost dark. Started setting up my tent. So I set up my tent, it was pouring down rain, setting my tent up, staking it in. Finally, about 20 minutes later, because of all the rain and stuff, I had to untangle everything and how wet everything was. I got it all up. Didn't feel like doing anything that night. Just wanted to get in my tent and go to sleep. Finally unzipped my tent. Looked in it, puddle of water, probably 3 inches deep in my tent. No way to get it out. Tried to shake it out, it just wasn't going out. It was just not going out. Got in the tent, put my sleeping pad down, put my sleeping bag down. I had a down sleeping bag. So remember, when down gets wet, it's not a good situation. Like it's bad for it to get wet because it doesn't work anymore until it's dried. So I tried to sleep, couldn't sleep because I couldn't get warm because my sleeping bag was not working because it was wet. So I realized I gotta get this water out of here somehow. So what I ended up doing, taking my pocket knife, cutting a small slit in the bottom of my tent where the water was, and all the water drained out. I do not recommend doing that ever if you can help it. But in an emergency situation like that, you could do that, and that's what I did. Got some sleep that night after that because everything kind of started to dry out a little bit. And the rain finally stopped eventually. Not a good experience, but things like that can happen to you on the trail. I just want people to be aware of that. It's not just a cakewalk all the way through. There's a lot of uphill, a lot of downhill, a lot of cold, a lot of rain, but it's a lot of fun. Next morning when I got up, started hiking again. From all that rain, all the creeks were way up, so you had to walk through flowing water. There was no way around it. The trail went right through it. When the creek's down, there's stepping stones to get across, but the creek was up, so there was nothing. You just had to walk through that running water. So it's just fun things like that and that make that trail an experience. So if you're planning on doing a thru hike next year, remember this video and come prepared.